Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, and welcome back to another live stream. Where we're going to sit and talk about Manchester United for a bit of a change, a nice surprise for you guys. And we're going to be talking about Michael Carrick, because we are now 6 games into this little interim spell and 6 football matches against sort of different types of opposition, different environments, different atmospheres. I think is a great moment to reflect on everything that we've seen so far and assess where we are at as a football club, but particularly tactically, on the pitch, what we're doing, what we think of Michael Carrick so far. So what I want to do today, basically, is sit and waffle as always, but I really want to hear a lot from you guys, how you feel about the process so far. In terms of results, points, things like that, I mean, it's hard to knock it, right? Of course, the West Ham draw is a little bit frustrating. It came at an annoying time before that long break, but, I mean, that's insane, right? That's insane. The day Ruben Amorim was sacked and then Fletcher, it didn't quite go right. If you told us that we were going to go on to have 5 wins and a draw from the next 6, especially those fixtures. I mean, City, Arsenal, always just, the 2 best teams in the league at the moment. Fulham are a very good side. Spurs, not amazing this season, but have been a challenge for us in recent times. West Ham away is always a tricky place to go, as is Everton away. It's been fantastic in terms of results and in terms of the table. We've certainly climbed up the table. By the way, why does everyone that displays league tables always put such a big gap between the team and the games played? Sorry, side point. But also the table in terms of our form. I mean, look at that. It's absolutely fantastic. We're flying. But is it actually as good as that on the pitch? Let me know what you think in the chat. And we're going to have a talk about what's going well, what's not going so well, what you like, what you don't like, who's exciting you, who you want to see more of. Those are the conversations for today. Before we do any of that, though, I want to hear from you guys in the chat and hear about how your day is, how your week has been so far, how life is, how things are treating you. We've got Steve in the chat with the 16-month membership. What a legend. Let's flipping go. I mean, let's flip and go indeed. 16 for Michael Carrick as well, by the way. Love that. My take is that it has been very good, but I'd like to see more tactical tweaking depending on our opposition. It's been a tad one-size-fits-all at the moment. I think that's a really nice starting point. I think that's a really nice way of looking at it. I think that's a great place to start. It's going well. I think I'd like to see a bit more tweaking at times. I think in terms of our starting 11 so far, there's been 2 changes and they have both been forced by injury. Of course, Dorgu started the first ones under Carrick and has come out for Cunha because of injury. And we've seen Lisandro Martinez come out in the last one for Lenny Yoro. Apart from that, we've been unchanged. Now, in one sense, that's great for a new manager to have that, because you can sort of build some momentum. These players can start to play with each other and understand each other. You build those connections. But I do think in another world, there's a lot of important squad management to do as well. But also different teams require different things tactically, right? There are different games which need something a little bit different. And I think if we're going to squad management, someone like Benjamin Sesko, you would think the goals that he's scoring, to keep him happy, I mean, his attitude seems great, but to keep him happy, reward him with a start at some point. When someone's doing that well, big part of being a manager is rewarding these players. So, yeah, I think that's something that I would like to see a bit more of. Chad, good morning to you, my friend. I hope you're doing well on a lovely sunny morning. I mean, it helps, right? United's form is flying at the moment, and the weather is a little bit nicer. Spring is on the way. Lovely. Very much a spring and summer kind of guy myself. That goal difference, positive and double digits. Crazy times. I mean, it's almost alien, right? If you look across there, what's that? Manchester United on 11 goal difference. Only 3 teams in the league have better than us. That's insane. Like, how long have we floated around 0 or the minus? And we'd have one game week where we'd win, say, 2-0, for example, and we'd climb to 1 goal difference. And we're like, wow, this feels special. Now we're sitting there on 11. And I think probably the biggest compliment that I can give Michael Carrick, and I think the biggest reflection of how well we've done so far, is when we win, we always pick holes in how we win. Like, we beat Everton and we're not that impressed. I don't think we played that amazingly well. The draw against West Ham, it's almost a crisis that we drew with West Ham. Against Fulham, it weren't an amazing performance, but of course we won 3-2, but we were sitting there picking holes in certain parts of the performance. How great is that? The standards have gone up, finally. The standards have finally gone up. We win and we still critique it rather than just trying to grab anything slightly positive at this club. It's quite fun. It's quite nice to be looking still for solutions to problems, but in a more positive way. It's not like, oh my god, we are absolutely terrible, we desperately need to fix this. It's more like, we're pretty good, but I think we can get even better. And I think that's a great place for us to be honest. Spring, summer, all the way, it's not even close. It's not even close. Like, if there are people in the chat who prefer winter, cool, I love that for you. But you've lost your mind. Summer is so clear. So clear. He's done as well as he could considering he's come in mid-season. Yeah, absolutely. We've got a poll running in the chat at the moment, actually. Already got 41 votes, which is great to see. Thank you guys very much. Basically, what are your thoughts on Carrick getting the permanent job in the summer? At the moment, we've got 69% going, see how the rest of the season goes, which is probably where my vote would go. We've got 17% good option if no one else is available, and 14% going for he should definitely get the job. 0% saying he shouldn't be in the conversation, which is quite interesting if you think about what some former pros and pundits were saying, sort of the day that Michael Carrick was appointed. Quite interesting that it's aged as like it has, you know. It's good that the fan base started over-analysing Carrick because it means our standards have gone up. Yeah, we're over-analysing wins. You know, we're winning games, but we're still going, I don't quite like that. I think we can get better. It's great to see. We can grind out 3 points. That Everton win was literally a loss in recent times. 100%. I think especially, if not a loss, a draw. That last 20 minutes where the corners were coming flying in. I couldn't believe what I was watching, to be honest. But that last 20 minutes, all day in recent times has been dropped points. Conceding a late goal, maybe another late goal and going on to lose the game. The performance may not have been amazing in this one or against West Ham, but there is something to be said for a team that can get results. Obviously, the saying is always the sign of champions is winning when you're not playing well. Now, I'll be honest, I don't think we're going to be champions this season. And unfortunately, it's sad to say I don't think we will win the Premier League. But it is such a good thing. Winning is a habit. So this United team, just their ability to churn out results is so important for the confidence. That's what a draw against West Ham annoyed me so much. Because we had all this momentum. We were absolutely flying. But it all happened quite quickly. The one time we got a break for 13 days was the time that we dropped points. So that dropped points almost hung over us for a couple of weeks. So I'm really glad we were able to get back to winning ways and sort of pick up that momentum again. Now, I do want to see better performances. I think starting at Crystal Palace, we need to see that. But yeah, I mean, look, it's green. It's green. Everywhere is green. You look at the form table, it's green. It's just lovely to see. We're in such a competitive league this year. It's insane. Because I think some teams have got better, but also I think some teams have got worse. We called it at the start of the season, just how competitive it's been. But it's been fantastic that we can be competitive. 15th to top 4 is a win for me. Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? It's absolutely brilliant. It was sort of the goal that we set at the start of the season here on the channel. We said, sort of our prediction was that United should finish in the top 4. United should be finishing in the top 4. And right now, we do look in an amazing place to do so. To be honest, it looks great for us with 3 points clear of the teams behind us. Only 3 off of Aston Villa. It looks great for us. And the fact that everyone else is in Europe is huge. I'm pretty sure also, and you can correct me if I'm wrong now, I think the next 3 games we've got is, I want to say Palace, Newcastle, Aston Villa. I think in that order. And I'm pretty sure in each of those games, again, tell me if I'm wrong, double check this. I'm pretty sure in each of those games, the team we're playing has already played a European game like 3 days before. So on Thursday this week, Crystal Palace play in the Conference League, I want to say, and then we play them. Then next week against Newcastle, they play in the Champions League before we then play. I think. You may want to check that. But I certainly got, the teams that we've got coming up have certainly got a lot of games around, which is good for us. It's really good for us. Honestly, after the end of last season, I would have bitten your hand off for a top 8 finish. Yeah. I think most people would have. My standards were always a little bit higher, just because I don't think our team was ever as bad as what it looked last year. But yeah, I do agree. I do agree. The standards were so low, it's nice to see the standards up a little bit. That draw probably stopped 13 days of winning the league talk, to be fair. And that's my problem with it. I want us to win the league. Can't see Spurs low. I think they're in the form table. I think they're Oh, they're not in the form table. I have another form table. I forgot to save it. Spurs are 20th in the form table for the last 5 games, which is quite a lot of fun. The squad was never 15th level last season. Completely agree. Completely agree. Arsenal, Villa and City all have some really nasty games coming up too. That will help. Not sure what happened to my voice there, but yeah, certainly. The draw helped us in a weird way I can't explain. I'd love to hear your reasoning for it, because I actually agree. I think it just takes a bit of pressure off. When you're on that winning run, you're almost waiting for it to end. You know the winning run is going to end at some point. So to almost get it out of the way, weirdly, is nice. Of course, we wish it was 10 wins in a row. But I think it is a bit of pressure off, sort of addressing that, almost getting that bad result out of the way. And it weren't a loss. Now, that's going to come at some point as well. I would imagine, I would assume, at some point between now and the end of the season, I think United will lose a game, which is going to be a proper sucker punch. It's going to hurt. But I think it's important that we don't overreact when that happens. And that's why these recent results have been so good. They've given us that buffer. If you imagine, just again, going to the fixtures, the results, it would have been fair to assume we'd lose to City and Arsenal, right? So let's take 6 points off the United tally. And let's say we draw another one. Take 8 points off our tally. Where would we be right now? We'd be down on 40 points. You know, and the gap to the teams above us would be starting to be a problem. So it's great that we've got that little bit of buffer. If we had time off, why did we look so unfit against Everton? I mean, that's a great question. And that is, early on, one of my concerns under Michael Carrick and with these coaches. The fitness doesn't look like it's there at the moment, to be honest. And it was the one thing that I really praised Ruben Amorim for earlier in the season. It was the one thing that I thought he got right this year, was the fitness looked fantastic. And I think that's because we had a good pre-season, an undisrupted one for once. And I thought the fitness was fantastic. Now, the counter argument that people made was, we're playing once a week, of course we look fit. But now what we've seen under Carrick is we're still playing once a week, but I don't think we look as fit. Now, I guess the timing of our goals sort of goes against that. We scored late against West Ham. We scored relatively late against Fulham, relatively late against Everton. So I guess that sort of goes against that, but I don't think we look like the fitness machine that we did earlier in the campaign, personally. The draw was a reality check. It was needed to stop complacency creeping in. Yeah, absolutely. You know how funny, how desperate we were back then for a right winger because everyone preferred playing on the left, and now we are desperate for a left winger? Yes. Yeah, very much so. We signed Sancho and it turned out he was better on the left. Obviously, Rashford was better on the left, Garnacho as well. Now, apart from Cunha, they're all better on the right. Seems to be how things go around here. I'd argue we looked rusty. Carrick has been operating short of training due to a lack of quality and depth, I think. It almost felt like an international break. And I actually sat down and I said this to Callum literally just before the match started. I was like, every time United come off a long break, normally an international break, we always start sluggish. I think most teams do. And that's how it felt against Everton. It felt like a team coming off of an international break. The 13 days almost didn't freshen up the squad. It almost made us a little bit rusty. We're sort of lacking that sharpness and that match flow. Now, the counterpoint to that, it'll be interesting to see how the next 10 days go, because we've got Palace at the weekend and then the Newcastle game next Wednesday, I think. I think it's next Wednesday. So it'll be interesting to see how we deal with that challenge. 2 games in quick succession, because against West Ham, it was a problem for us. So, again, I think it's fun to see from now until the end of the season, just these different problems popping up and how Carrick's going to solve them. And I think for me, that will be the answer to the poll, which is why I voted see how the rest of the season goes. Because when these different problems pop up, someone gets injured, someone in the back four, Lisandro Martinez, or we lose a midfielder and Ugarte has to come into the team, or we lose an Mbuma or an Ahmad to an injury, or we lose a couple of games in a row, or teams play in a different way against us. It's going to be fun to see how Carrick sort of addresses those problems, how he adapts, how he changes the team. I think that's the big thing we haven't seen yet. Ant made the comment right at the start. It's sort of been one solution for every problem so far, certainly in terms of the starting 11. So it'll be interesting to see how we're going to sort of tackle those challenges, I guess. Are we unfit or just less agile with Maguire, Shaw, Casemiro and Mainu, not athletic machines? I mean, that's a great point. I think that is a problem. I think it's some of the problem when we try and press high. You know, Casemiro and Maguire, I think both struggle to back it up at times, because they're not the most agile. But I do think we look a bit more leggy. I think even Ahmad, earlier on in the season, looked like he could just keep going, keep going, keep going. I would say that's just a little bit faded. I'm not saying suddenly like, oh, we've got a load of fat bombs on the pitch. Right, they're still clearly very fit. But I just think it's dipped a little bit. A little bit. Gonna sneeze. I'm good. Bobby the Bob, good morning. It has been a while, my friend. Good to see you. How are you? Sesko looked fit, really quick for that goal. Brutal speed from Sesko. Absolutely fantastic. And I think Sesko's been brilliant since he joined the club. As long as your expectations weren't 30 goals in the first season, as long as people recognise that he's a young striker coming to a very unstable environment, I think he's been brilliant. I think he's been absolutely brilliant, especially when you consider his lack of minutes recently. Now, maybe coming on as a sub has helped him. You know, against tired legs when the game is a bit more stretched, he's been able to come on. It'd be interesting to see how he does when he starts, but I would like to see him start. Sesko should be in the 11, in my opinion. I think he's going to help some of these players around him. Did you see Onana wants to fight for his place? Yeah, there's been another post since then saying that's basically a load of rubbish and that he has no future at the club. The priority is to stabilise the ship, but now we need to focus on endurance and ball control. We gave the ball away a lot. Against better teams, it would be a problem. Yeah, I agree. I think it was very sloppy. Very sloppy the other night, which isn't necessarily a tactical thing. That's, of course, not on the managers when players just aren't making passes. We saw Casemiro had one of those games, is how I will word it. When Casemiro's on it, he tries these crazy passes and he's unbelievable and he makes the passes and he looks incredible, like the greatest player to ever play the game. Looks like he could play at the top level for the next 100 years. Then he has another game where he attempts the same passes, which are slightly crazy passes that he tries, but then this time he doesn't complete them. And instead he just turns into a player that gives the opposition the ball the whole time. He had one of those nights. I don't think Bruno played well, to be honest. I don't think Bruno played well at all. I don't think Ahmad had a good game. And Mbeumo doesn't look comfortable in these games. He doesn't look comfortable, which is why I personally would like to see the switch to Mbeumo on the right, Sesko coming through the middle. That is what I would like to see. Why didn't Tarkowski pull him down on the halfway line? He would have got away with a yellow. I mean, Neil, mate, to be honest, in that game, it seemed like you were allowed to pull people and not get a yellow. So he should have done it and got no caution at all. Probably would have been all right. Sell or raffle Onana off. I like the idea of a raffle. Premier League raffle. Everyone buys a ticket and see who gets him. If it's about the must-play Ahmad thing, I think he should play Luke Shaw, change the formation and play Lisandro Martinez into midfield. I mean, the good news is, right, it looks as though Lisandro Martinez's injury isn't going to be a bad one. I've seen a suggestion that he might come back in this weekend even, which is big, which is very big. Did you see Carrick not trusting Ugarte even for the last 10 minutes? Yeah, I think it says a lot. I think it speaks volumes. I think Ugarte's time at the club is pretty much up. To be honest, I don't see him extending beyond the summer. And unless we do get a different manager and we bring someone in who really sees something in Ugarte that they like. If it was to be Carrick, I don't think Ugarte would be staying about. He wants to play football, doesn't he? He's sort of in his prime age. He wants to go and play football somewhere. And he's good enough to play football in Europe in a top 5 league. So, yeah, Ugarte should be sold this summer, I think. Don't think any of our front four had a good game. I'll drop Ahmad as the player in poor form at the moment. See, I think Cunha was quite good. Now, not here. He annoyed me in the final third. I think the entire front four did, to be honest. It was a bad night in the final third for United. But I think Cunha, if you go back and watch the game, and watch the first 30 minutes, it was so sloppy. It was ridiculous. The amount of people, like Everton win the ball and just pass to us, and then we win the ball and just pass to them. Go back and watch the first 30 minutes. The way Cunha just looked after the ball was so important for us, I felt, in the early spell. I think it was huge to sort of just giving us something in the game, giving us a way to actually just calm down for a second, which isn't normally what I associate him with. I think Cunha's touch can be quite loose normally, but he really protected the ball well, and I actually think it was big for us, sort of early on, just sort of warming into it. Xisco was fast, but the difference between him and Tarkowski is an unfair comparison. Poor James. Yeah, it was brutal, wasn't it? It was almost unfair. I love Litcher, absolute baller. At this point, he is our new Shaw, though. Sad stuff. Yeah, it's concerning. It's concerning. We've got three really good experienced centre backs, really good players who I think Lisandro Martinez and De Ligt, I just still don't think they've hit their best yet in terms of what they could be as a centre back. But injuries may mean they never do, and that is a problem for us to address in the summer. I think personally, I would be letting one of these guys go and bringing in a new, more experienced centre back. Now, God, my voice just like glitched or something. We've got to be careful with the centre back recruitment because we don't want to block Lenny Yoro's development. I thought he played well off the ball the other night. We don't want to block Aiden Heaven's development. He's been good in 2026 when he's played. But I also think we need one more high quality player. So we've got to be careful there. These guys just can't be trusted. If you go and look at their stats, the games they've missed this season, this trio have missed, I think it's one, it might be two. One. I'm going to go with one. One game short of a full Premier League season between them. Of course, most of those are Lisandro Martinez with the injury he picked up last year. I think Maguire's missed 10, and I think De Ligt's now up to 16. And Litcher missed roughly the first 10 to 12 games of the season. So between them, they've missed a full Premier League season. And, you know, injuries happen, but to these guys, it seems to happen more regularly, more frequently. So I'd probably be letting one of them go and trying to bring in another one. But as Greg has said there, the problem is there's so many other positions that we need to recruit and strengthen in the summer. We need midfielders, we need a left winger, maybe a left back. It's sort of been looked at in recent weeks, and then probably a centre back. But I think it's something that we should consider. I believe our top target is Schlotterbeck. I reckon it is. In an absolute dream world, I reckon it is. I don't know if it'll be possible. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know if Dortmund are likely to be difficult to buy from this summer. I don't really know what their financial situation is. Haven't followed them this season at all, to be honest. But yeah, wonderful player. Wonderful player. Lenny is ready with a solid centre-back that's Champions League ready. I think he just about is. I'm not sure if he quite is just yet. Not quite, I don't think. Yeah, obviously the problem is we probably need three midfielders. We need a left winger. A lot of people want a left back as well, which I don't blame you for. We need a lot. That's why we need to be in the Champions League, because we need some money. Please and thank you. I'd replace Maguire with Van Heck personally. That wouldn't be a bad one. Cunha's defending was great, plus the long pass, plus the hilarious celebration just before he was subbed. Yeah, I'll put it like this. I'll say this. I'm happy Cunha plays for us. If he was doing that to... Imagine Cunha was doing that to Cobby. Like, Cunha plays for Wolves still. He does that to Cobby in the 90th minute. I would be fuming. I'd be shouting and swearing at the telly. I am glad that Cunha plays for Manchester United. Because he's a bit of a so-and-so, but he's our so-and-so. Yeah, I love him. Yoro is only ready for certain types of games. He still has learning to do. Yeah, which obviously is absolutely fine. Because of how old he is. Is he 20 years old now? Still very young, going to make a lot of mistakes. It's fine that he's not Champions League ready. How many centre-backs are Champions League ready at 20 years old? Not many of them. So I think it's absolutely fine. But yeah, I think we could do with someone slightly better and more reliable ahead of him in the pecking order. Lomans has been rock solid. Best signing of last summer by far. Maybe we can do a stream on that at some point. A little... You know, United's 4 signings, 15 minutes on each, talking about their impact at the club. Because I think they've all hit, haven't they? They've all been great. And I think they've all got a lot more to offer as well. I think Lomans can do better. I think he can do more. He's still so young, he's going to get better. Cunha can do more. Sesko can do more. And Nabumo can do more, which is really exciting. When you look at the impact that they had the other night, it's you know, it's not quite as simple as this. But those 4 plus Maguire pretty much got us 3 points the other night, didn't they? With their individual moments. And that's fantastic to see. You think last season, if there was a game where Bruno hadn't shown up, you'd look at the forwards and you'd think, can they do it without Bruno? Can they sort of give us what we need? But the other night they could. Bruno didn't perform, he didn't step up, but Cunha and Bumo and Sesko in that moment were able to, and I think that's great. I think that's great. After Palace, which is a potential banana skin, we have Villa. How many points can we get from both games? I think I'm sort of looking at 4 points from... If we can get 4 points from the 2, obviously We've got to think about the performance level. That's important. Are they really bad performances, but we just about scrape a result? That'd be a little bit more concerning. But purely in terms of the league table, 4 points from those two would probably be big. I think that would be very good for us. 52 points would be on. That would put us in a nice place. I think Chelsea's fixtures are nasty. Nasty, nasty games. Now, to be fair, you'd have said the same about United's last 6. So there's a chance that Chelsea continue their form. But yeah, Chelsea's fixtures coming up are nasty. So if United can get, let's say, 7 points from the next possible 9, which is tough because we've got Newcastle, Villa and Palace. It's difficult. But if we can, I mean, that puts us in an amazing place for the top 4. An incredible position. At that point, I would be surprised if we didn't get it. AJ, do we think Amas or Leon will be ready to play minutes next year? I see Dorgu's future on the left wing mostly. I don't think either of them will be ready next season. To be honest, to come in and play regularly. Dorgu, I'm really stuck on what I think his future is, because as a left winger, I don't think he's quite good enough to play ahead of Cunha. I think we'd be better off with a new left winger. Left back, I'm not quite sure. A lot of people want a left winger and a left back. Where does that leave Patrick? Where does that leave him? Now, again, he's a young player. We're allowed squad depth, but it is something to think about. Oh, now we have to take a moment before we continue with the stream, because we've got to stop. Because Steve Brooks is in the chat with 5 gifted memberships. I mean, that's insane generosity. Steve, you were here on Friday, gifted memberships as well, mate. Was it 5 or 10 on Friday? I can't remember. That's insane, though. Thank you so much for the support. I really, really do appreciate it. Thank you very much. That is very kind of you. If you did get gifted a membership, make sure to say thank you. I can see it's gone to a couple of regulars, which is nice to see. And yes, also get some love hearts in the chat for Steve. He's a good man. He's a good man. Thank you very much. AJ, I think we need to make sure the core midfield problem is solved and we build around that, because we have to leave room for young players to come through. Yeah, it's a balancing act. Like everything in football, it seems these days. It is a balancing act, but midfield is the priority. Of course it is. Of course it is. We've got 3 this year. We need at least 5, and we're going to lose 2, I think. So we need 3 more. At least 3 more. Like, that's the problem we got here. We need at least 3 more. Nightmare. Nightmare. I hope we get 7 out of the next 9, but I guess I'd be happy with 5 or 6. Yeah, I think it would depend on the performances that were going with those points to sort of gauge how good it was. If you told me, you know, for example, we beat Palace, we beat Villa, we slip up and lose against Newcastle, which is always a tricky place to go, especially for us. It's not the end of the world, is it? 6 points out of those 9 wouldn't be bad at all. It would be annoying to see the unbeaten streak come to an end, but it's still going to leave us in a pretty good place. I'd like 7, because I'd like to keep that undefeated run. That would be lovely. But if we do lose 1, as long as it's only 1 and we win the others, it's okay. We're in a nice place. Dorgu can play as a left-back in home games where we have the ball, and he can play left-mid in games where we want width. And I'm happy for Dorgu to develop into the ultimate left-side squad player. Doesn't need to start always, but can come on and make an impact when needed. I mean, yeah, maybe the future of Dorgu, certainly the short-term future, thinking next season, is just be this amazing squad player. Be this amazing player who, we need him at left-back, all right, he'll come in for a game. We need a runner on the left, he can come in. We need someone on the right, because he has played there this season as well. Maybe that's sort of his future. He's not one of those guys who's got to start every game. But when you sort of pick and choose the moments, and again, hopefully we're going to be in loads of competitions next year. Hopefully we're going to be in the Champions League, the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, and hopefully we'll go deep. You know, if we play, 8 games in the Champions League group these days, you'd want at least 3 in the Carabao Cup, realistically. You'd want at least 3 in the FA Cup. You know, that's a lot of extra games for us to be playing. And let's hope in the Champions League we would progress as well. You could be talking 20 more games next season. If you just imagine, just hypothetically, Dorgu started those 20 and had a lot of bench cameos in the league, he'd be more than happy. I think that would be great playing time for him, and it'd be good for his development not to be overplayed. So as long as we're in those competitions and we go deep, I think we'll be absolutely fine with the squad. I'm going for 9 points. Beating Villa is vital. Villa feels like the big one for the top 4, especially. Because it's a 6-pointer, really, isn't it? I'd love 3rd. I would love 3rd. There's just something about rather than like scraping into top 5 to get Champions League football, third feels like you're the best of the rest. City and Arsenal are clearly better than everyone else. Being the next best, though, after a weird, unstable season, and then building on that in the summer would be a lovely place for us to be talking about a title charge next season. And why can't we talk about it? Why can't we talk about it? If we'd got this season right, we'd be right up there. So I think we're allowed to. Kieran, good morning, mate. How are you? 9-month membership saying, sup, nerds. Good to see you, mate. Hope you're well. Proper nerd place, innit? Love it. Ugarte is practically gone. I feel that he will be on the bench for the remaining games. Yeah, I would expect the same, to be honest. I'd be surprised if he comes in at any point, unfortunately, for the fella. Okay, I love Carrick, but the way we're playing, I don't think he can manage as when we're playing 3 games per week. I think he'll be like Arteta, who made Arsenal the best team and has won nothing with them. What makes you say that? I'm not saying I disagree with the point. I'm just interested to hear your reasoning, because it's, no offense, like a little less positive than what everyone else is saying, but I don't necessarily think it's wrong. I'd just be interested to hear your thought process behind that. What makes you say that? I think we could get second. I don't see us losing any of the next games. Who knows? Have we got to play Chelsea yet? And Liverpool, haven't we? Still. Have Liverpool got to come to Old Trafford still? We've got to go away to Stamford Bridge. And Villa's at Old Trafford, I think. Sort of in our hands. That's the nice part about it. We're not going to be so reliant on everyone else dropping points. I feel like in recent weeks we have been. We've been looking for, okay, they've dropped points, we win. Okay, we can jump. They drop points, we win. Okay, we can jump above them. Now it feels like we've got ourselves into the top 4. It's in our hands. Win our games, and it doesn't matter what everyone else does. We will be there. And that's a nice place to be. Because I think everyone will drop points as well anyway. So that's quite fun. Getting midfielders is going to be exciting, and the manager we choose needs to know how to attract top talent with a vision for the club's future. Yeah, I don't necessarily know if that's on the manager as such, whoever it is in the summer, but as a football club, yeah, we've got to be a place that players want to come. Last year, we did an amazing job getting Mbeumo and Cunha in particular. Sesko and Lomans are that bit younger. I didn't mean to do that. That's annoying. God damn it. But Mbeumo and Cunha, let me get these lot back in. Let's go for this one. Mbeumo and Cunha, they're sort of in the peak of their career. They could have gone anywhere in the summer. Pretty much anywhere that they wanted to go, they could have done. So to still go and grab those guys was really impressive. But I don't think we can do it this year. If we don't get Champions League, I don't think financially we'll be able to attract the players. I don't think we'll be able to afford it. I don't think we'll be able to get them in. So that's why it's so important. Last year we did amazing in the summer. Really well. I would have loved a midfielder. Absolutely. I still probably would have gone for a midfielder over Sesko, personally. But I think this year, to be able to afford it, we need to be able to have the Champions League backing. I think that's sort of essential. If Carrick, with all of his knowledge on how to play midfield, doesn't fancy Ugarte, that's a pretty damning... I mean, yeah. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Chelsea is in the mud, clueless new manager and a bunch of youngsters. I mean, I haven't seen them since the managerial change. I don't think I've watched any of them. What's your opinion on Carrick getting the permanent role, AJ? I see it as, let me just quickly count something. 11 games left. I almost see it as though he's got 11 job interviews until the end of the season. That's how I see it for Carrick. He's got to be in the conversation for me. I absolutely would not rule him out. If he shows over the next 11 that he can keep the players happy, that he can manage the squad well, and look after people like that, if he can get points on the board, if he can win games, and if he can solve different problems. You know, we face a couple of blocks and he breaks down the blocks. A couple of games where we have to transition fast and he manages to do that. A couple of games where we go behind and we still come back. A couple of games where we blow the opposition away. If he does all those things, give him the job. Give him the job at that point. Sure, we might think blah, blah, blah is better, whatever big name you want to go for. But if Carrick literally proves that he can do it at Manchester United, give him the job. That's my opinion. If, on the other hand, we sort of stutter to 5th, we just about get there, whilst having the advantage of playing less, we struggle every time someone plays behind the ball, and we don't manage to squad that well, by which I mean we don't start to rotate more. Some of the players aren't happy because they're not playing regularly. Then maybe you'd look elsewhere. You'd go, thank you so much. You've done an amazing job to get us into the top 5. But perhaps now we need to look somewhere else. Get top 5, basically. And we'll go from there. Liverpool and Chelsea, easy peasy. We can beat big teams, but slip up against relegation-threatened teams. I mean, it's weird, right? Because there is that talk of, sort of Carrick struggled against the low blocks. I wouldn't actually say Everton was that much of a low block. It felt a bit more like a mid-block to me. Second half was us in the low block a lot of the time. Fulham wasn't the low block which people anticipated. So West Ham's really the only one in the second half. I think if you actually were to check the league position of the teams that we've faced, Spurs and West Ham, the only ones in the bottom 5? Am I right saying that? Fulham and Everton are both up there. City and Arsenal obviously up there. And Spurs is a bit of a weird, like an anomaly, right? I know they're terrible, but they're not. Like on their day, they've got a good squad. They can do good things. So I'd say West Ham are the only normal relegation threatened team that we've faced under Carrick. That's sort of how I see it. It's a shame that we wasted that Burnley, Leeds, Wolves run. The back end of Amorim and the Darren Fletcher sort of tenure. It's a shame we messed that up, because didn't we draw with all 3 of them? They're the 3, right? You can look across the course of a season and go, oh, if only we'd beat blah, 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 or only beat blah. I get it, right? But if we could have just won 2 of those games against Leeds, Wolves, Burnley, that's 3 we played in a row. If we could have won 2 of those games, we'd be in such a better place. Such a better place. We've almost missed the opportunity there. Also, by the way, I've just clocked that Brighton are in 14th. Why are Brighton in 14th? I know they haven't been amazing this season, but what on earth is going on there? Can you imagine if in your predictions last year you had, or in the summer, you had Leeds 3 points off Brighton? That seems absurd. Absolutely absurd. That's sort of gone under the radar, no? What's your take if we struggle in our next game again? And why is Sesko not starting, by the way? I think the reason Sesko isn't starting is because we're winning games and Carrick's trying to build a connection with this front 4. I think he's trying to get them gelling. I think it's probably, in terms of a part of the pitch, it's one of the most important parts of the pitch for the players to get each other. Because you are working on split-second moments in the final third, and you've got to connect. You've got to connect with each other. So I think Carrick's trying to build those connections. The problem for me is I don't think it's a connection that we should work to. And by that, I simply mean Mbeumo's long-term future for me shouldn't be as a striker. So I would rather we build a connection that looks like this, and then you pick between the 2 on the right. So I think that's why, but I don't agree with it. I agree with trying to build the connection between players, but I think we're trying to build the wrong connection. For me, our best team at the moment has Sesko in it. Now, it doesn't have to every week, as we've acknowledged already. Different teams require different solutions and different tactical setups. For example, when we play that run of, we've got Chelsea. I don't know when we play Liverpool, but just imagine those 2 games are close. Maybe that's when Mbeumo goes back to up front. But I certainly think next time out, I'd like to see Sesko. I think he offers us something different. I also think this man has fallen out of form a little bit. Now, I have come to love Ahmad. I think he's absolutely fantastic. I love what he brings to the team. I think defensively he's fantastic. But I did see someone raise the point on Twitter. Is that a problem? When we defend Ahmad, we go, defensively his work rate is fantastic. Is that really what we want our instinct to be with our winger? When we talk about Mbeumo, we talk about his goal scoring. Or Cunha, we talk about his ball carrying. That's the first thing that comes to mind. With Ahmad, we go, God, he works hard. Which, of course, is important. But is it instinctively where we want to go with our wingers? I want to think of Ahmad and go, oh my God, he just toasts fullbacks all day. And I think he can do it. He's done it at times this season. I just think over the past 4 weeks, perhaps, he's dropped off a little bit. Which happens. Players drop off. Players have a spell of form where they don't quite click. I think everyone would benefit from having a striker on the pitch. I think it would help everyone in these positions. I think it would really help these guys. So it means Cunha and Mbeumo or Ahmad come out, and I would just say Ahmad is in the worst form. right now. I think it's as simple as that. It's not a case of hating Ahmad all of a sudden or saying he's got no future. You know, we spent a lot of money on some big forwards in the summer. So get them on the pitch. Let them play together. I love Ahmad, but his form doesn't deserve the start. Yeah, exactly. I love Ahmad's profile. I think he's still so important to us because he's different to everyone else. But if you're not in form, you're not in form. Have a spell out of the team, make an impact from the bench, work your way back into the team, like Sesko did. Sesko, I don't think was bad, but wasn't in amazing form at the time. Has gone to the bench, scored from the bench. Hopefully now gets himself back into the 11. That's how it should work. I would have Sesko leading the line for the next couple of games. And also, I mentioned it in the match video yesterday, it would just be nice to see Mbeumo right wing with a focal point striker, because that's what he was always so good at for Brentford. Whether it was Ivan Toney or Visser, having a proper striker leading the line, taking the attention of centre-backs, with Mbeumo playing right wing, is why we signed Mbeumo. You know, that's where Mbeumo performed, which sort of caught our attention, then we signed him. Since he's been here, he's been a right 10, he's been a left winger, he's been a striker. We haven't really seen much as a right winger. Like, he hasn't started here yet, I don't think. Not that I can recall. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe one of the games under Aaron where we went back 4 and Mbeumo might have played on the right. I can't quite remember. But certainly, we haven't seen him here often, have we? So, let's give it a go. I mean, the last 2 goals that we've scored have come when Mbeumo has popped up wider on the right-hand side and Sesko's been in the middle. Buster does not sound very happy. Giggs used to come off the bench. It's a team sport. Exactly that. Also, just going back to the comment earlier about what would my take be if we struggle again in the next game. I guess it depends how you define struggle. Do we play terribly, or do we just sort of play a little bit slow but still get the result or whatever? But also, yeah, it would sort of be a little red mark next to Carrick's name if we don't play well for a 3rd game in a row. Naturally, that deserves criticism. But also, I think we've got to recognise, when you play teams that are compact defensively, whether that's a high and compact, or in the mid-block and compact, or a low block and compact, or literally in their 6-yard box and compact, compact is difficult to play against. It just is. Arsenal may well win the Premier League this season, but they cannot play against compact teams. They find it so difficult. It's why set pieces have been so big for them, because it sort of breaks the barrier, it forces the opposition to open up, and that's when they can then attack a little bit more. So I think if we have 3 or 4 games in a row where we struggle to play through a block, for me, that's not the point in which we should write off Michael Carrick, because Pep Guardiola has struggled against blocks at times this season, by the way. And I think Pep's a pretty good manager, to be honest. So I don't think a couple of poor performances should write off all the good work that Carrick's done. But having said all of that, he does need to show that he can find solutions in those games as well, which again is why it's 11 job interviews. Sesko could develop into a Ballon d'Or consideration player in the future. How amazing would that be? How amazing would that be? He's still so young. He can be our striker for the next 10 years if we look after him right. For once, which we haven't done well enough over the past decade. We've got to look after Sesko, which does mean sometimes not playing. Sometimes coming out of the team, sometimes being protected. But then when you do play, make an impact, make a difference. And I think he has recently. He's been great. If Arsenal bottle it again, I think the fans will be on Arteta's back. Yeah, at that point, we should probably sign Rice just so he gets to experience winning a trophy at club level. You know. With Carrick, it's tactical, and he has had answers on the bench. I mean, he has answered, hasn't he? Like you said, with the impact from the bench, Sesko's come on both times and scored goals. So he has made changes during the game. I would just like to see changes from the start, sort of adapt to what we're facing. Not because we're scared of the opposition, but perhaps we recognise a weakness in their game that we think we can exploit. Something that I mentioned pre-Everton, which didn't turn out to be true because Garner played a right back and ruined all of my plans, but was the idea of Sesko going into the box and taking advantage of the edge of the box. That's tweaking because of who you're playing, but not because you're scared of them, but because you think you can hurt them. And that's what I would like to see. I'm going to do my Palace research probably tomorrow, and I think I'll do another preview video and stream for that one. So we'll be live on Friday at 11. But I would like to find something that I think Palace are poor at and attack it. Find a solution in the starting 11 that we can hurt them with. That's what I'd like to do. 21 is coming, all thanks to Lomans and friends. I would love it. It's not a new thing either. I remember sitting in the stadium, final day of the season in '95, and 6 billion shots and still couldn't beat West Ham. It happens. It does. It does. It's almost like teams that defend because it's difficult to attack. It's difficult to beat a team which has 100 players in the box. That's why teams do it. Teams wouldn't sit in a low block if it was easy, would they? So, yeah, it happens. It happens. We need the return of our set piece threat. That's what we need. A nice little set piece 20 minutes in against Palace at the weekend would be lovely. Just a corner, Casemiro knocks it in the back of the net. United are 1-0 up. All right, now let's build from there. That would be a delight. Playing average and getting the win and a clean sheet is champions mentality. I mean, we almost say it as a bit of a joke, saying it's what champions do, it's how champions play. But it's true. There is something to be said for a team that can get a result. Just find a way. You can't do it every week. At some point, you've got to deserve the result. But yeah, teams that can find a way of getting those points are huge. Huge. If Arsenal bottles the league, it'll be hilarious, but Man City win again, hard to take. Yeah, I don't know what I would prefer at the moment. I don't know what I would rather see. There is something absolutely hilarious if Arsenal fail again. Like, that would just absolutely kill me. I think Twitter would be quite a fun place to be in that moment. But I don't want City to win the league either. So I just think United should do it, to be honest. I think United should win the league. That'd be quite cool. Oh, what just happened there? Just got an ad block. It jump scared me. Don't mention set pieces. What a disgrace. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on the set pieces the other night. I would love to hear what you thought of them, because I don't know. I'm sort of, I see it from both sides. One side is the game's the game. Simple as that. The game's the game. If you're allowed to do it, do it. If you're allowed to crowd a goalkeeper and it gives you an increased chance of scoring, do it. Why not? But also, it's not really what we want to watch, is it? It's not really the reason we pay these massive subscriptions to Sky and TNT and all these companies. It's not the reason why we watch Match of the Day every week, to see set pieces. Not those type of set pieces. Now, I don't just say this because I support United, but like, when we score from set pieces, the Mbumo one the other week, where we go to Cobby and then lay it off, that looks creative. It's like, okay, they've actually thought of something quite clever there. They haven't had to rugby tackle anyone to do it. They've just thought of something quite clever. The ones the other night, I don't think there was anything clever about it, really, was there? It was just brute bullying and force. Luckily, we had a Harry Maguire and a Lomans who just sort of went, I think so, mate. I did enjoy Maguire's little push on Tarkowski. Yeah, I don't know. I almost think that there needs to be a rule change. I don't know what the rule change is. I've seen people suggesting you can't be within a certain sort of range of the goalkeeper when it's first taken, or any contact on the keeper is going to be a foul. I don't know what the solution is, but there needs to be one, because it's not what the league's about, is it? Football, I get it's a results business, but it's also an entertainment business, so it certainly should be. So, yeah, I would like to see something done about that, because it's not fun to watch. Unless it's against Arsenal, like Arsenal versus Brentford, and Arsenal cry about it, then I quite enjoy it. Yeah, at one point, yeah, you couldn't go anywhere near a keeper, and it would be a foul. And I think that was too extreme, but it's gone too far the other way. Going back to a point I made earlier, would you still give Maguire a new contract or let him go? I think I'd have him on a reduced contract. If he will agree a contract where, you know, he sort of knows he's not playing as much, sort of a spoken agreement, but a written agreement that he's going to earn less money. Sorry, Baz, I think you'll be okay, though. I'd like him to stay at this club. I would like him to stay at this club. I think his mentality is something that we need. I think his leadership is definitely something that we need. But also his qualities as a footballer are something that we don't possess with anyone else. Like, De Ligt had a good season. Really, really good season before his injury. But he's still not Maguire in the air. I don't know if you guys remember the reverse game against 10 men. Barry against De Ligt was a bit of a mismatch. Barry sort of really dominated De Ligt that day. Maguire is just next level with what he does aerially. So I'd love to keep him around the squad. The problem is, I have said today, I don't trust Maguire, Lisandro Martinez and De Ligt as a trio. I would sell one of them and sign someone new. that means selling De Ligt or Lisandro Martinez. And me saying that is not going to go down well. So I might hide, sort of duck and cover. I agree he has good experience and leadership. As long as it is at reduced wages, no problem keeping Harry. Yeah, the problem is the injury nature of these three. Quality-wise, I think we've got good enough centre-backs. I do. I think we've got good players. Maybe summer 2027, I'd be going, that's the next position. Let's really inject someone elite into there. That's what I'd be doing. But they say the best ability is availability, right? Or reliability. And these three currently don't offer it. Don't know if you guys heard me say earlier. Between them, they've missed just under 38 games. So nearly a full Premier League season is what I'm trying to say. We can't handle that next year. This year we get away with it because of the lack of games. Next year we can't handle it. And again, it's a careful topic. We've got to be really careful because we don't want to block these guys. We don't want to remove their chances of ever playing for this football club. It'd be great to see them as a pair someday, wouldn't it? But thinking next season in the Champions League, we can't go through a spell where Maguire and De Ligt are both injured or Maguire and Martinez are both injured. And this season, it's been happening pretty much all campaign that two of them have been injured at a time. So I'd like a replacement. I just don't know who I would be getting rid of is the question. Our game against Villa is either side of their Europa League last 16 matches, which will help us. Big, 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 big for us. Villa are struggling at the moment anyway with injuries and squad depth. So their form has tailed off as a result. Yes, good time to play them. It's a good time to play them. Providing we go into it on the back of some wins. That would be lovely. Is Van de Ven elite? No, not in my opinion. Not in my opinion. I think Van de Ven has got one of those players who looks like he can be elite. I think he's got all the traits for it. Physically, he's a monster, isn't he? He's rapid. His ground coverage is immense. On the ball, he carries the ball very well. He's not a bad passer. Can probably do more. I think Van de Ven's very good. But he's not in that top bracket for me. Not for me. I just think there's small little details I think he can switch off in his own box, which is not what you want. Especially if you're talking about replacing Maguire. Someone who is so switched on in the box and so dominant. Replacing that with someone who switches off would be a problem. But also sort of just small 1v1 moments. I don't like Van de Ven. I think he's a really good player. I would really consider him. I'd really consider him. But he wouldn't be like a, oh my god, yes, we have to sign him. It'd be on my list probably. It'd be on the short list. But I wouldn't go as far at the moment as actively suggesting him as someone that we should go and get. Not yet. Maybe I'll watch him a bit more and have a look. But he is a good player. We should make that clear. But if we're using the word elite, I'm talking about the top of the game. I don't think Van de Ven is there yet. He's another one who's quite young still, though. He is another one. All right, my friends, can we avoid messages with all capital letters in the chat, please? And thank you. If not, they will be muted. Or you will be muted, I should say. The messages will be removed and you will be muted as a result. So please could we stop that? Van de Ven appears better because of his recovery pace. As a pure defender, he is average. Yeah, he sort of reminds me a little bit. I said this the other day. He sort of reminds me a little bit of back end of his City career, Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker, in his prime, was a really good right back. There was always maybe a positioning issue. But I think particularly in the last couple of years at City, he really looked like he was sort of using his pace to bail him out of moments that he was getting wrong. Van de Ven strikes me as that a little bit. A little bit. He would command top dollar unless Spurs get relegated. I mean, even if Spurs don't get relegated, I wouldn't be surprised if this summer a couple of players want to leave and sort of force their way out. Because where were they last year? 17th? Something like that? They're down there again this season. They'll finish low, probably below 14th. I wouldn't be surprised if some of their players start going, I don't really want to spend my prime years here. You know, a Van de Ven may want to leave. A Sarr may want to leave. A Bergvall may want to leave. Some good players at that club. Some really good players. He's a pace merchant who depends on making last-ditch tackles, so he'll be in highlights, but not that great. Yeah, he is one of those ones where in a compilation he looks absolutely amazing, but you probably do need to watch a little bit more of him to truly understand what he's doing well and what he's not doing so well. I think that's a good assessment. Just going back to the poll, we've got 3% of people has said that Carrick shouldn't be in the conversation at all for the summer. If any of you guys that voted for that are still here, have your say in the chat. Let me know why. Let me know why. Don't worry, I won't attack your opinion. I'm all ears. I would love to hear what your reasoning is, because I'm sure you've got a valid reason. Maybe something that I haven't thought about. So let me know. Let me know why that is. Both hours decent. Yeah, they've got some nice players in that Spurs squad. Some really nice players. There's a lot of players that I like. A lot of them are injured at the moment. Like Kulusevski is a brilliant footballer. Kudus is a great player. Yeah, there's players there that are good at football. I think Van de Ven is the type of player that would look amazing at Barcelona or Madrid, but might get found out against better teams more often. Sort of in the strength of the Premier League, playing quality opposition more regularly. Is that what you mean? If so, I get that. I get that. Carrick should be starting Sesko like against Everton. We had no player for the Shawcross and Dalot, and I'll choose Mbumo over Ahmad all day. Yeah, I mean, that would be my 11 at the moment. Certainly my front four, or my front six would look like that. Dalot and Shaw would be my fullbacks. Maguire would be in my team, and then the other one depends on who's fit. If it's not Lisandro Martinez, we'll come back to this on Friday, right? Prior to the Palace game, Friday morning, 11 a.m, we'll do a stream. If Lisandro Martinez is injured for the weekend, would you go Heaven or Yoro? Because I think Yoro defensively played quite well the other day. The only criticism of Yoro I had was that on the ball, when we're trying to break a team down, he didn't bring us that much. Heaven would be better at that. So I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. Like I said, we'll discuss it more properly on Friday. But I would be interested to hear what you have to say. Now, I personally prefer Yoro slightly. I think he's the slightly better player, but interested to hear what you say. Has Van de Ven had a few injury issues? Hamstrings? Yeah, big time. Which is always a concern in a power athlete. Someone who relies on quick accelerations and large distances. Yeah, it'd be a problem. Crazy that we could have bought Kudus, Palinha and one other for what we paid for Anthony. Insane. I mean, Anthony's doing alright for himself now, isn't he? But yeah, completely agree. Although I never would have wanted Palinha, to be honest. Not my type of player. Yoro / Maguire again. That's fair. That's fair. I think Yoro is better defensively, but ball playing wise, easily Heaven. Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. I think Yoro's been quite good for us, though, in the last two games. West Ham is the only reason we got a result. He kept us alive in that one. But I thought he played alright the other night as well. On the ball, yeah, I would like more. I think he can take more risks, be a bit more confident. But he's a young player, right, who hasn't had the backing of his manager recently. I'm not saying Carrick hates him, but he's not put full faith in him and started him every week like he has Mainu, for example. So maybe he is low in confidence. Maybe he is. He's not had a great season, to be honest, Yoro. So maybe that's a lot of it. We need a quick defence and our young players just need an experienced, quick centre-back they can learn from. I think that'd help a lot. Surprised we saw Yoro right and Mags left. Thought it would be the other way around. Yes. Same. I was a little bit shocked by that. Only because we'd been unchanged with the back four prior to that. So then we're forced into one change at centre-back, which you thought would have been this. So Carrick almost made two changes to the back four because the left centre-back was a new one, and so was the right centre-back. So he almost made two changes, which I thought was weird. He turned one change into two. But maybe he just wanted to release Dalot more in that game, and he didn't want Maguire to be the wide defender. You know, he didn't want Maguire defending out here. Perhaps he wanted to protect him with Yoro and wanted to play Dalot high. I'm not sure. I still hope we can become a team that can swing like that during a game, though. We've seen it on a game-to-game basis. One game, left back deep, right back high. Next one the other way around. But I would like us to be a team that can swing between the two during a game, just to offer a bit more versatility and unpredictability, I guess. Afternoon, AJ. Hope you're well, mate. I am not bad at all, Mr. Cantona, my friend. Not bad at all. Hope you're well. I hope Dorgu's hamstring is only minor. He relies on that explosiveness and hard running. Yeah, I think you're scared the second any explosive player gets a hamstring injury. Especially when it's their first one as well. You don't know how they're going to sort of recover from that. I don't mind having only one ball playing centre back as long as his partner is good. It's a compromise that can still work. I completely agree. Completely agree. I don't think they both have to be elite. You can have one who's great and then one who's good. I don't think you need two elite, top of the game ball players, in my opinion. Anyway, I have just realised the time, and I've got a lot of work that I need to do this afternoon, and I also need to babysit for a mate for a bit. So I am going to have to be wrapping the stream up. There will be a video out this evening. There'll be a video out tomorrow. Friday morning, we will be live streaming in this time slot, looking ahead to the Palace game. Then Friday night, we will upload. Saturday, there should be a video as well. And then Sunday, we'll be covering the Palace game. Because earlier kickoff, 2 PM, I think. So the video will be out the same day. So there's plenty of content coming in the next few days. What's that? 5 videos before the end of Sunday. Plus a stream in there as well. So if you're not already, make sure you're subscribed. Get your notifications on so you don't miss those videos. But yeah, I think that is everything for today. I need to be leaving. So thank you all very much for getting involved. Thank you for having a good chat. Not necessarily a structured conversation today, but it's been fun to sort of just sit and waffle about United and the current situation and what's going on. So I've enjoyed that. Thank you guys very much for that. Thank you to anyone who has liked, who has voted in the poll, who has subscribed, got your notifications on, been in the chat with super chats, gifted memberships, or renewed your own. I really do appreciate every single one of you. So yes, thank you very much. And I will see you all very, very soon for some more content.